Imagine an empire so powerful it ruled the known world, and yet, it collapsed under the very wealth it created. This is the story of ancient Rome, not through battles or emperors, but through the slow, corrosive power of money itself. Gold, greed, and corruption eroded the foundations of an empire that once seemed eternal. In this journey, we'll uncover how finance built Rome's greatness, and then tore it apart. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because this is the economic downfall you were never taught in history class. Rome's financial rise began with conquest. Every victory brought massive wealth, looted gold, and enslaved labor from across Europe, Africa, and Asia. War was the empire's greatest business model. But with each triumph, greed expanded faster than governance. Senators grew rich off provinces, generals hoarded spoils, and common citizens became spectators in a theater of wealth. Rome's economy glittered with gold, yet beneath the shine lay decay. The influx of plundered wealth distorted prices, widened inequality, and birthed a toxic dependence on conquest. Without war, Rome couldn't sustain its lifestyle, a ticking time bomb in its economic design. As the treasury overflowed, currency manipulation began. Rome's silver denarius, once the backbone of trade, started losing purity. Emperors facing debt crises quietly reduced the silver content, minting more coins with less metal, the earliest form of inflation by decree. People noticed. Merchants demanded higher prices. Soldiers complained their pay bought less bread. Inflation spiraled, eroding trust in money itself. What began as clever bookkeeping turned into financial sabotage. Rome had entered the dangerous realm where confidence, not gold, held the empire together, and that confidence was crumbling. By the 1st century AD, lavish spending replaced republican discipline. Senators flaunted fortunes in marble villas, golden goblets, and feasts that could feed thousands. The empire's elite treated wealth not as a responsibility, but as proof of divine favor. The rich hoarded land, buying up farms from debt-ridden peasants. Small farmers, the backbone of Rome's military and society, vanished. This concentration of wealth hollowed the economy. The countryside emptied, the cities swelled with unemployed masses, and Rome began feeding them with free grain doles, a policy that bought peace but bred dependency. The government's generosity came at a staggering price. Public games, temples, aqueducts, and military campaigns drained the treasury. To fund this lifestyle, emperors turned to taxation and debt. Provinces were squeezed dry through corrupt tax collectors who demanded more than citizens could pay. Many sold their land just to survive. Trade slowed, confidence waned. Even the empire's greatest strength, its infrastructure, became a burden too costly to maintain. Rome's vast wealth became an illusion, sustained by borrowing, minting, and exploitation. Its finances were not a monument to strength, but a web of quiet desperation. Then came Emperor Nero, infamous for extravagance and fire, both literal and financial. His lavish building projects after the Great Fire of Rome bankrupted the state. He devalued the currency further, reducing silver content by 10%. It was a desperate move disguised as reform. To pay soldiers and silence unrest, Nero taxed the provinces even harder. The empire became addicted to short-term fixes: more coins, more taxes, more promises. The denarius, once a symbol of Rome's might, was now a hollow shell. Trust evaporated, and the first whispers of rebellion began to echo across the empire. Inflation deepened in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. By the time of the crisis of the 3rd century, Rome faced economic collapse. Civil wars shattered trade routes. Armies auctioned the throne to the highest bidder. Each new emperor debased the currency further, minting worthless coins to pay troops. Prices soared. A loaf of bread that once cost a single denarius soon required thousands. The empire's money became meaningless. Gold disappeared from circulation, hoarded or traded in secret. Rome had invented the modern concept of hyperinflation, centuries before paper money even existed. Amid chaos, one man tried to restore order: Emperor Diocletian. His reforms were monumental and desperate. He issued the Edict on Maximum Prices in 301 AD, fixing wages and costs across the empire. But the law backfired spectacularly. Merchants stopped selling goods rather than accept worthless coins. The black market thrived. Diocletian's attempt to control inflation through force only accelerated economic decay. For the first time, Rome's vast trade network, once the envy of the world, began to unravel. Wealth, once flowing freely, now stagnated under the weight of imperial mismanagement. The financial strain reached every corner of Roman life. Ordinary citizens paid taxes in grain or labor because coins were too unstable. Farmers became serfs, bound to the land to meet imperial quotas. Soldiers' pay was worthless. Even the army, Rome's pride, turned into mercenaries fighting for gold, not loyalty. The empire was fragmenting, not from external invasion, but from economic exhaustion. Rome was no longer sustained by its citizens, it was feeding on them. The same wealth that had once united the empire now enslaved it to a broken system. As Rome weakened, corruption spread like wildfire. Tax collectors grew rich while the state went bankrupt. Officials forged accounts, merchants cheated scales, and senators smuggled gold abroad. The empire's moral compass disintegrated under financial rot. By the 4th century, even emperors couldn't pay their armies. The government resorted to barter, paying soldiers in food or land instead of money. Rome's mighty economic machine had regressed to a medieval economy centuries before the Middle Ages. The Roman dream of eternal prosperity had turned into a nightmare of fiscal chaos and moral decay. The final blow came not from enemies at the gates, but from within the imperial treasury. The Western Roman Empire, stretched thin and bankrupt, couldn't defend its borders. When the Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 AD, they weren't toppling an empire of strength, but of debt. The gold and silver that once filled Roman vaults had long vanished. What remained were worthless coins, unpaid soldiers, and hungry citizens. The empire that once conquered the world had been conquered by its own money. Wealth, once Rome's weapon, had become its curse. Rome's collapse wasn't sudden, it was slow, silent, and self-inflicted. Economists today call it the Great Devaluation. Historians call it the price of greed. When a nation loses control of its currency, it loses control of its destiny. Rome proved that empires don't fall because of enemies, they fall because of financial rot that erodes trust, purpose, and unity. The story of Rome isn't just ancient history, it's a timeless warning for every civilization that believes prosperity is permanent. Every coin minted in Rome carried an emperor's face, a promise of value backed by the empire's might. But as emperors came and went, that promise was broken again and again. The denarius, once pure and proud, became a symbol of deceit. When money loses meaning, society loses morality. Citizens stopped believing in the system, in their leaders, and eventually, in Rome itself. The empire collapsed not just economically, but spiritually. Its wealth was built on conquest, its ruin came from within. Modern parallels are chilling. Nations today manipulate currency, expand debt, and inflate away responsibility, just as Rome did. The printing presses of modern central banks echo the Roman mints. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Rome's collapse wasn't inevitable, it was engineered by greed and denial. Economies don't die overnight, they erode in confidence, in truth, and in time. And once trust is gone, no empire, ancient or modern, can rebuild it with gold alone. So what can we learn from Rome's financial ruin? That wealth without wisdom is self-destruction. Rome mistook abundance for stability. It believed that as long as the treasury glittered, the empire was safe. But real wealth lies not in gold, but in discipline, integrity, and trust. These are the foundations of every enduring economy. When they crumble, no monument, no army, and no emperor can save what's already lost. The ruins of the Roman Forum still whisper the story of that financial arrogance. Once a marketplace of gold and trade, it became a graveyard of ambition. The echoes of coin dealers, tax collectors, and emperors fade beneath the same sun that once gleamed on golden statues. Every fallen stone tells the same truth. Money, when worshipped, becomes a god that devours its followers. Rome didn't die from poverty, it drowned in its own wealth. Today, economists analyze Rome's downfall in spreadsheets and graphs, but its essence was human. Fear, greed, and pride, the timeless ingredients of collapse. The Roman elite hoarded riches while the poor starved. The state printed money it didn't have. Confidence vanished. These are not ancient relics. They are recurring symptoms of every age. Rome's tragedy wasn't that it fell, but that it didn't listen to its own lessons. When the Western Empire finally fell in 476 AD, the Roman economy had already been dead for centuries. The invaders didn't destroy it, they merely inherited its ashes. What survived wasn't gold, but knowledge, the warning that financial systems built on lies will always devour their creators. Every inflation, every debt crisis, every reckless government echoes Rome's ghost. It is a reminder written not in stone, but in silver, tarnished by greed. So the next time a government assures you that money is under control, remember the emperors who said the same. Remember Nero's coins, Diocletian's decrees, and the citizens who once trusted them. History doesn't repeat, but finance rhymes, in empires, in economies, and in human nature. Rome wasn't the first to fall to money, and it won't be the last. The real empire that endures is the lesson itself. Thank you for joining this journey through how money destroyed ancient Rome. If you found this story enlightening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because the past isn't just history, it's prophecy. The fall of Rome wasn't just a chapter, it's a mirror reflecting our world today. Wealth built Rome, greed destroyed it, and the question that remains is timeless: will we learn from it, or repeat it?